Hey everyone, wherever you are, hope you're having a wonderful week so far. We're here with the latest episode of the Inside Crypto Show, interviews and discussions with the regular people just like yourselves. Today we are joined by Caria Wei, CEO of Nuvo. Nuvo is an innovative platform that places user data ownership solely in the hands of the user while providing an incentivizing customer retention framework. Before we dive into all of that jargon, let's talk about Caria and how far she's come and how she got into the world of crypto and Web3. Caria, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for having me. Tell me about yourself.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, for sure. That sounds great. So my background has been in technology ever since I started working. I have been working in technology firm. I used to work in the traditional tech fields, 9-to-5 jobs. So the very first time when I got exposure into crypto was quite early on. Actually, it was back in 2013, 14-ish. So what happened was I was a product manager at a top tier AMD graphics card partner. So if you remember, if you knew about the graphics card industry, back to those years, they were actually doing very badly. The industry was doing so bad, and then something happened that saved the industry, which was Bitcoin mining. So that was my first exposure to crypto. But then back then, like pretty much everybody else, like I was being skeptical. Like who knows what it is, if that's real. So I actually did not do any actions despite the fact that it actually helped with my job. And that was my early exposure to it. I really wish I should invest in a little, even just a little bit, and everything will be different today. And then after that, I went on to do a gap year in Canada. I went to the top business school in Toronto, finished my MBA, and then I got a job in software industry. And luckily, that's when I met my co-founder at Nuvo, Yuan Su. So we find out that we both are very enthusiastic in entrepreneurship. We want to build something that can impact people and change the world. And he was actually the person who reintroduced me into crypto and blockchain. And I still recall back then when he doing step-by-step introduction how to do the MetaMask transaction, and I was so nervous. So that was my reintroduction back to this industry. And then thanks to him, I had the exposure and the opportunity to learn more about different areas within blockchain. That's when I realized crypto itself is not just the crypto or the fraud. It's actually about the technology itself that is really changing the world and changing how we think and the entire paradigm shift. That we know that years ago, we still have to explain how we shift from centralized to decentralized, and then how DAO change the way the company or organization operates, and so many other things, including the data ownership that Nuvo is working on here. So the reason that I wanted to start with Nuvo is because that right now in today's world, whatever we do, we have to do KYC. We have to surrender our data. If you go to open a bank account, you have to give out your IDs. If you do a mortgage, and if you go with the mortgage agent, sometimes they will even ask the documentation. You don't even know if they will actually use that for personal use. Our data is really not being saved securely as well. So that's the reason that I'm starting this, and I really just simply feel like this technology is so fascinating that I believe that Web3 is the future.
Wow, that's an incredible story. And like you described some of it, but what has it been like changing from working in like a Web2 world, right, in traditional software to working in Web3? Are you busier? Are you more free? How's running a Web3 company?
I love this question. It's definitely very different. So I work in both. I work in any size of companies, as small as from under 10 people startup and as big as Fortune 500 companies. So I know how things work on both ends. The biggest difference is the regular traditional companies, they are all centralized. The decision-making coming from the top, and then they have their set process and procedures that everybody had to follow. And you will feel like you are like a robot or like a machine. You follow the rule, and every day is 9 to 5. The biggest difference about why I love this so much is everything, at least in Nuvo or in Metis, perhaps we will talk about it later on, is my past experience, is we are decentralized body. Everybody in Nuvo have a say to the organization. We open up to hear everybody's opinion. So it's really different way of functioning. And you just feel like everybody is owning the company. So that's the biggest difference.
Very nice. And like you're in Canada now, but you're like originally from Taiwan as well. Like,
Yes.
do you think like Taiwan will ever catch up to the Web3 space? Will there be a Nuvo in Taiwan in the future?
So this is an interesting question because honestly, I actually see Canada being more conservative to Web3 than Taiwan.
Oh, okay.
So I actually follow the news in Taiwan quite closely. I noticed that for the governments or even from the large corporations such as the banks, they actually all spin up a specific departments to try out this technology. I still recall several months ago, I even read a newspaper saying that Taiwanese government is trying out using smart contracts to validate the information in court, which is amazing, which is something that Canada is not doing. So yeah, that's an interesting question.
Very nice. Because I know, like, I've gone to the bank here. I'm like, hey, so can I use my money to buy some crypto? And he was like, no. But I know, like this was just like first bank, but I went to Yusan Bank and Yusan. There are some banks that are really very positive about crypto and transactions.
Yeah.
As much as I like to talk to another Taiwanese person about Taiwan, we're going to talk about Nuvo.
Okay.
Tell us about it, because you have this wonderful website, lots of information. Talking about a company is always best from the founder. So tell us about your company.
That sounds great. So basically, you are in Web3. You might actually notice we are not the first company that's focusing on data ownership. There were actually many more before us, even since several years ago. So I would say until now, the technology itself is actually mature already for people to use. The biggest issue right now is the user adoption. If you notice about all the past companies or the current companies, I think the biggest issue is we are still very Web3 focused. Difficult for the general public to understand the concept to start with, even if they express their interest to learn and actually try out to use the product, they won't able to, because the Web3 experience is very different from what they know so far. So that's why Nuvo is born here, because we want to combine the data ownership side of things with user engagement. We want to provide a great user experience to support people's day-to-day, so they will be able to interact with the projects such as business or decentralized apps. At the same time, they can actually have fun, engage with others, and still having their own data control. So that's Nuvo in a snapshot. Another thing that we are different is we actually support both online and offline interactions. Yeah, so offline is through the self-sovereign identity technology itself that we will store their personal credentials. And for any online will be the interactions between users and projects. Those will be saved in the form of soulbound token, SBTs. So we are really utilizing two technology at once to support different use cases and allow everybody to be able to access it very easily.
Wow. See, listeners and viewers, if you're watching the video, like I spent time researching Nuvo, and yeah, it's so much better coming from Caria. So I have a question, right? So people listening to this, they're watching the video. How do you want them to start with Nuvo? Do you want them to go to the website first? What's the process? They're like, okay, I'm interested. I want to try out Nuvo. What should they do first?
You might be surprised. I would actually encourage everybody to follow us right now on our Twitter, at least to start with. And I won't encourage you to use our products for now. Reason is because we are actually undergoing a huge revamp of the products. Like I say, I want to provide a great user experience. I understand our current product is actually still quite Web3 focused. We are revamping our technology as well as front-end experience as a whole. In 2 months, if you start using our product, you will feel like you are using a regular mobile apps. You will not know you are using a Web3 product, and you don't have to worry about the gas fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the best way will be to follow you on Twitter for the moment. And then maybe as they're following you on Twitter, you can keep track of when your revamp is over. And then they're like, okay, now's the time to start trying Nuvo.
Exactly. Yeah. So our Twitter handle is at Nuvosphere. At Nuvosphere.
Yes. Okay. I did see that. Okay. Why did you decide to revamp, right?
I want to make sure the user experience is right for everybody. Again, I understand the difficulty of getting the Web3 adoption. Therefore, I want to change the product in a way that everybody can easily use. It is extremely intuitive. So I'm not saying that today you cannot try out a product. If yourself is Web3 or in Web3 already, I welcome you to try out. We have live product. We actually have a lot of users active right now. I want to encourage you to try out to mint your Nuvo ID and mint the free Nuvo pages by interaction with the projects. So it's there. It's not the user experience, something that I want to focus to fix the product better.
Okay. Very nice. And what users should expect, as you mentioned, just like a typical Web2 app that they might use, like a Line or WhatsApp or that sort of stuff. No mention of blockchain, but you're still building Nuvo on the blockchain. Just it'll be easy for everybody, my mother, your mother, to use it, and it'll be no problem.
Yeah, exactly like you said, Corinne. I always say that I want to make Nuvo something that even grandma can use. Yeah, that's exactly the goal.
Okay, very cool. So you mentioned like you are not the first company, and we've had, I think, 3 like decentralized identity projects on, right? And I know like some of our loyal listeners would be like, okay, we had this project on and that project on.
Yeah.
And I know they want to know is like, what's the difference with Nuvo? I would say the one big difference for me already is just the idea of removing that Web3 layer so that it's just like a Web2 app. But I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention that sort of sets Nuvo apart from other decentralized apps.
Yes. So the biggest difference is we are here to work with everybody to push data ownership to mainstream. So even though there were many decentralized projects that you ever interview with, I want to say that we are not their competitor. So our solution actually allows us to work with pretty much all of them, and then we can grow together.
Very nice. What will happen in the future, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is I will have the Nuvo app, and inside there could be my Taiwan ID, my passport, and I'm going to go with say Yusan in Taiwan. I'm like, okay, I'm buying a house on Zonghua Road and I need a mortgage. And then I can say, here's my identification, and I will allow them to access it. And then when they're done, I can close that release of information, I guess is how you describe it. Is that true?
Yeah, so that the actual technology part of data exchange and Nuvo is actually different from what you might know from others. I know many projects are doing the private key exchange to encrypt their data. We are different. So we actually utilize a new technology, multi-party credentials. So basically how it works is you can actually give out the consents to people that because for example, if you say you are going to take a mortgage, they have specific information they need from you. You can actually select exactly the information you want to share with them. So through this, you can actually determine what are the information you want to share. What happens here, what makes it different is we will actually initiate a set of calculations and allow the bank receiving body to get the information they need based on the calculation, but they will not be able to get your specific information. Let me give you an example. If you apply for mortgage, they might require a specific salary, annual salary, to prove you have the ability to return the money. Let's say if they need at least 1 million, I don't know what happens in Taiwan right now. Let's say if they need you to have 1 million annual salary, that sounds crazy, sorry. And then what happens is they will not get this information directly. After going through the calculations, they will say, okay, they got Korean that's actually earning between 90K to 1,020,000. So they will get the range, but they will never be able to get the specific information and data from you. So they still can know you are qualified, but they will not get your personal information.
Wow, that's so cool. But how does that work? Is that like on the software side, or is that like a setting inside Nuvo? How would that work?
So it's actually done through zero knowledge technology.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So the calculation is very complicated.
No worries. Just zero knowledge is good enough.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Very nice. When did you decide to go to zero knowledge and use, you said multi-party credentials? Was this like a 2022 decision or 2021 decision? When did that happen?
We decided to change this zero knowledge credential pretty much start of this year. Reason is because we continue to do a lot of assessment based on the current technology that's available. We do understand that the private key decryption and encryption actually works well already, but it's still showing the exact data. But through the zero knowledge technology, you actually will not disclose your exact data, but it still can make yourself satisfied with the criteria they need. Therefore, we can actually safeguard your personal information.
Okay. We talk about this in like banking. I'm just thinking about like in Taiwan, right? When you go to the hospital or the doctor, they stick in your health insurance card and the doctor can see all your information from like how many years. So would this work for like health insurance and hospitals? I think Canada is the same way as well.
I would say Taiwan definitely have a great hospital system. In Canada, it's actually quite special. If you go to a different clinic, they will not have any of your information unless you bring it to them. Yeah, so what you say in Taiwan, they are extremely centralized when it comes to the hospital or personal medical records, which is great. So it's actually going to be a huge challenge for us to implement data ownership for them, not just from the technology or actual implementation part to sync, also for the regulations. You had to be adhered to regulations such as HIPAA for Europe and many others. So it's actually a complicated situation to solve that we definitely want to tackle later on.
That would be really cool. Okay. I'm going to get killed if I don't ask this question because there's a lot of like crypto blockchain nerds who listen. What blockchain are you using to build Nuvo?
So we are building upon Metis. So if you haven't know about Metis yet, Metis is a Ethereum layer 2 rollup solution. Right now, it's actually at the top rankings on L2 bits. And right now, for any layer 2 transactions, they actually offer the lowest transaction cost. Therefore, to us, it's a no-brainer for us to use them. But there's one thing I do want to emphasize, that we are blockchain agnostic. That means that we can actually work with any chains, with any projects.
Okay. And so you used to work at Metis before, right? And
yes,
I mean,
correct.
What made you decide to start your own venture and build upon Metis?
Yeah, so I absolutely learned a lot at Metis. I consider myself lucky. Like the first crypto project I ever involved in was a huge successful one. So I'm definitely luckier than others. I learned a lot along the journey. And I had the fortune to work very closely with the founders at Metis as well. Therefore, that means I learned a lot from them directly too. And if you recall I mentioned that I always wanted to build my own startup. I want to do it from the ground. I want to change the world. And that's when I have this idea. And then when Metis actually started to transform their business model, they also want to make the blockchain accessible for all and actually align with Nuvo's core value, that we want to help everybody to regain the data ownership from everyone. So basically, this is a great match. And therefore, Metis decided to actually fund us. So they are actually our investor. And another strong tie is my CTO with Metis. It's actually a CTO at Metis as well.
Very cool.
Yeah, so we are a very strong partner and they are our investor.
So nice. So it's a really good partnership. So people like interested in Nuvo know that you guys have a big, like solid foundation in terms of backing for the future.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
Fantastic. Okay. It is nighttime your time, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. I think the big thing before the podcast, like we were supposed to do this last week. So I have a bunch of questions from audience. I think one of the things people wanted to ask is, do you see any way to integrate, I feel weird to ask this, but integrate AI, ChatGPT, BARD, that sort of stuff into decentralized identity and zero knowledge?
Oh, that's for sure. And I would say it's going to happen. The reason is because I think we all tried ChatGPT. It's amazing. I asked a lot of crazy questions there. But the biggest issue is people start to ask if the information they get from the AI is accurate. The reason is because today the data are controlled by centralized body, like large organizations or government. There is no way for you to verify if the information you get is accurate or not. With the decentralized technology, you can actually allow everybody to be able to contribute to the data. And once this data fit into the AI, they will be able to get a more verified, better quality data they can share to us. So I can definitely see these two technologies being utilized together.
Very nice. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It is super useful. Okay, Caria, you've talked about the big revamp happening. And again, in technology, we can't hold you to dates and say, yes, 2 months, it's going to be done. You never know, things happen. So that's why you said people should follow Nuvo Sphere on Twitter. But besides the revamp, is there anything like general plans or a rough roadmap you want to share with our listeners and viewers today?
Yes, of course. So we will have a lot of very exciting new features come out with this event that everybody can really use. That we will have a mobile apps. So it's definitely like close to your day-to-day. You will be able to meet your personal digital identity and then start interacting with others. That's in terms of the product roadmap. We will also start with a lot of exciting campaigns that everybody can start seeing very soon. And I would say further down the road, we will actually even start to recruit our VIP members. These will be our early bakers that they can support us, and then we can grow together as a community. On top of that, we actually recently launched a very interesting ambassador program. The reason I say it's interesting and it's actually different from the regular ones is it's actually a community ambassador program. So what happened is any ambassadors who become ambassador of Nuvo One projects, they can actually be recruited in other projects within our partner Metis ecosystem as well.
Oh, very nice.
Yes, so they will be able to accumulate their experience and showcase their skills. They can gain their Nuvo badge in different areas. For example, if today I'm great in content writing, I can gain my content writing badge. I can actually label up based on my contribution to the projects. And what happens is if today another project wants to find a good content writer, they can come to this pool and find myself and recruit me as well. So that's also something that we are working on.
That's fantastic. Okay, very interesting. Caria, you've answered a lot of questions today and you've explained a lot about Nuvo and Nuvo Sphere. The last thing, anything else you want to say that you haven't mentioned? Anything else you want to plug? We've talked about the Twitter, of course, already, so that will be down in the show notes for today. But yeah, your last chance, the floor is yours. Anything else you want to talk about Nuvo Sphere or Metis, what's coming in the future? Any last words?
For sure, thank you. So I would say we are definitely a relative newer project compared to the others. We definitely appreciate everybody's support. We want to invite everybody to follow us more closely. Our website is nuvosphere.io and our Twitter handle is @nuvosphere. Definitely want to invite everybody to follow us and then like really just join the journey and start using us, try it out, and then to actually gain the benefit that we want to give out to others.
Okay. And like a quick question, right? You said you're going to have a mobile app. So this will be like a global mobile app or just like in the West first, or is it going to be a global launch when you launch a mobile app?
Yeah, it's going to be a global launch and it's going to support multi-language at once.
It's so Chinese as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, cool. Okay, nice. So that will be good for everyone over here. Nice. Okay, Caria, so we know Nuvo's links. I know you have a LinkedIn. Are you on Twitter at all?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I will include Nuvo's links first and then yours, and then that will be down so people want to follow you and see what's happening for you because you are the leader of Nuvo.
Fantastic.
You should definitely do that. And yeah, and then hopefully we can maybe even talk in like another 9 months or so towards the end of the year. Yep, Nuvo is going well. How's everything going? I think it would be nice to catch up then.
For sure, for sure.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time and have a good evening. Hope you don't have to do too much extra work since it is nighttime. And then we'll catch up later.
Sounds great. Thank you, Corinne.